The little girl stood alone in the middle of the crowded park, clutching a bundle of pink birthday balloons while tears streamed down her cheeks. Around her, colorful decorations fluttered in the warm afternoon breeze. A birthday cake sat untouched on a table covered with cartoon characters. Children laughed in the distance, but none of them were gathered around her. Because no one had come. And worse than that, the one person she had been waiting for had disappeared from her life months ago. A few feet away, her father stood frozen, watching his daughter's heart break right in front of him. That was the moment he did something desperate. Something that would change 3 lives forever. Before we begin this emotional story, if you believe kindness can heal broken hearts and second chances can change destinies, please take a moment to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share it with someone who believes in hope, and subscribe to Lifeline Corner for more heart-touching stories. The morning sun shined brightly over the city as Rowan Mercer rushed through the crowded streets. At 36, Rowan had built a successful construction company from nothing. He owned a beautiful home, drove expensive cars, and employed hundreds of workers. Yet every evening, he returned to a silent house filled with memories. 3 years earlier, his wife had walked away. The marriage had collapsed under years of arguments, misunderstandings, and emotional distance. When she left, she promised to remain involved in their daughter's life. But promises sometimes fade. At first, she called regularly. Then occasionally. Then almost never. The only person who truly suffered was 8-year-old Ivy. Ivy was the kind of child who smiled at strangers, rescued injured birds, and left encouraging notes for her teachers. She had inherited her father's gentle heart and her mother's bright eyes. Every birthday since the divorce had become painful. Every celebration reminded her of who wasn't there. As her 9th birthday approached, Ivy had only one wish. She wanted a complete family birthday. Not presents. Not toys. Not expensive gifts. Just 1 week where everything felt normal. 1 week where she could wake up and see a mother and father together. 1 week where she didn't have to explain to friends why her family looked different. Rowan tried to distract her with vacations, parties, and surprises. Nothing worked. One evening, Ivy sat quietly on the porch swing as the golden sunlight painted the neighborhood in warm colors. She looked up at her father with hopeful eyes. For a moment, Rowan saw the tiny little girl who used to fall asleep on his shoulder. Then she asked the question he feared most. Could her birthday be like it used to be? Could they all be together again? The question shattered him. Because he knew the answer. No. Her mother had moved across the country and rarely contacted them anymore. That night Rowan sat alone in his office staring at old family photographs. He felt like he had failed. No amount of money could fix his daughter's loneliness. No business success could replace a missing parent. For the first time in years, he felt completely powerless. The next day, fate intervened. While stopping at a small bakery to buy cupcakes for Ivy's school celebration, Rowan noticed a young woman helping an elderly customer who had accidentally dropped her groceries. The woman immediately knelt down, gathered everything, paid for the damaged items herself, and walked the elderly woman to her car. There was something rare about her. Something genuine. Her name was Celeste Hart. She worked part-time at the bakery while studying art and caring for her younger brother after losing both parents several years earlier. Life had been difficult for Celeste. Yet somehow, she remained kind. As Rowan watched her comforting a nervous child near the counter moments later, an impossible idea entered his mind. He hated himself for even thinking it. But desperation can make people consider things they normally never would. Before he could talk himself out of it, he approached her. A few minutes later, sitting across from her in the bakery's corner booth, Rowan explained everything. His daughter's birthday. The broken family. The loneliness. The wish. The pain. Then came the question. Could she pretend to be his wife for 1 week? Not for romance. Not for deception beyond a temporary comfort. Just long enough to give a little girl the birthday she dreamed of. The request sounded absurd even to him. Embarrassing. Desperate. Impossible. Celeste stared at him in disbelief. Yet as Rowan spoke about Ivy, tears appeared in his eyes. Not the tears of a wealthy businessman. The tears of a father. A father who loved his child more than anything. A father running out of ways to protect her heart. Something inside Celeste softened. She understood loneliness. She understood loss. Most of all, she understood what it meant to miss family. After hours of thought, she agreed. The following week began cautiously. Celeste moved into the guest room of Rowan's home. They created simple boundaries and rules. Everything would remain respectful and temporary. The goal was Ivy. Nothing else. When Ivy arrived home from school and saw Celeste standing beside her father in the kitchen, she froze. Her backpack slipped from her shoulder. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Then Ivy smiled. A smile so bright it seemed to light the entire room. The kind of smile that only appears when a child believes a miracle has happened. From that moment, something unexpected began. The house changed. The silence disappeared. Laughter returned. Breakfast conversations stretched longer. Family dinners felt warmer. Movie nights filled the living room with joy. For the first time in years, Rowan heard his daughter laughing every single day. And each laugh felt like sunlight after a long winter. As the week continued, Celeste discovered things about Ivy that made her impossible not to love. The little girl left encouraging notes under pillows. She named every bird in the backyard. She secretly donated part of her allowance to animal shelters. Despite her sadness, Ivy constantly looked for ways to make others happy. Meanwhile, Rowan began seeing Celeste differently. Not as a stranger helping his family, but as someone extraordinary. Someone who carried her own wounds quietly. Someone whose kindness wasn't an act. Someone whose presence brought peace wherever she went. Neither of them intended for feelings to grow. But life rarely follows plans. 3 days before the birthday party, disaster struck. A classmate cruelly told Ivy that families like hers weren't real. The comment crushed her. That evening, Rowan found her crying in her bedroom. The sight broke him. Before he could say anything, Celeste sat beside Ivy and gently held her hand. For over an hour, she listened. No lectures. No empty promises. Just understanding. By the time the conversation ended, Ivy was smiling again. From the hallway, Rowan watched silently. And in that moment, he realized something important. Being a parent wasn't about biology. It was about showing up. Day after day. Even when it was difficult. Especially when it was difficult. Finally, the birthday arrived. The day dawned bright and beautiful. Blue skies stretched endlessly above the city. The park buzzed with excitement as decorations swayed beneath the afternoon sun. Children arrived carrying gifts and laughter. Music played softly through speakers. For the first time in years, Ivy wasn't standing alone. She stood between Rowan and Celeste. Holding both their hands. Looking happier than she had ever looked. As the party unfolded, guests couldn't stop commenting on how joyful Ivy seemed. The transformation was remarkable. She glowed. Every smile. Every laugh. Every hug. It was as though a missing piece of her heart had finally returned. Then came the moment that changed everything. As Ivy prepared to blow out her candles, she closed her eyes and made a wish. Everyone waited. The candles flickered. The afternoon breeze whispered through the trees. Then Ivy opened her eyes. What she said next left Rowan and Celeste speechless. She didn't wish for toys. She didn't wish for presents. She didn't wish for vacations. She wished that the family standing beside her would stay together forever. The crowd applauded softly. But Rowan felt tears burning behind his eyes. Because he suddenly realized the biggest surprise of all. The wish wasn't impossible anymore. That evening, after guests departed and the park grew quiet, Rowan and Celeste sat together watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. Neither spoke for a long time. Words weren't necessary. The answer had been growing inside both of them throughout the week. This arrangement had begun as an act. But somewhere between shared breakfasts, bedtime stories, and family laughter, it had become real. Not perfect. Not instant. But real. Months later, Rowan and Celeste officially began a relationship. Slowly. Carefully. Honestly. There were challenges. There were fears. There were moments of uncertainty. Yet they faced everything together. Most importantly, Ivy never felt alone again. She gained not only a mother figure but a true family built on choice, compassion, and love. Years later, Ivy would still remember that birthday. Not because of the cake. Not because of the decorations. Not because of the presents. She remembered it because it was the day 3 broken hearts found each other. The day kindness became family. The day a desperate request became a miracle. And before we reach the ending, I have a special request for every viewer. Comment, kindness creates miracles, if you believe one compassionate act can change someone's entire life. As time passed, Rowan often reflected on the afternoon he walked into that small bakery feeling defeated and hopeless. He had entered searching for cupcakes. Instead, he found hope. Celeste often reflected on the strange request that nearly made her walk away. Had she said no, all 3 of their lives would have been different. Sometimes the most life-changing moments arrive disguised as impossible choices. And Ivy grew up understanding a lesson many adults never learn. Family isn't always the people you're born with. Sometimes family is the people who choose to stay. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, leave a heartfelt comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Lifeline Corner so more people can discover stories that remind us all that love still exists in this world. Because sometimes one week is enough to change a lifetime. And sometimes a stranger becomes the answer to a prayer no one else could hear. The end.